Hey everyone! Today I'm talking about a popular German Eurodance group from the 90s who are very important in my heart. I'm talking about E-rotic, whose biggest hits are songs like Max Don't Have Sex With Your Ex, Fred Come to Bed, and Willie Use a Billy Boy. Now, you've probably heard at least one of them, but even if you haven't, it doesn't matter. This video is about the lore. So those three songs that I just showed you introduce three major characters of the E-rotic universe: Max, Fred, and Willie, but it goes so much deeper. There's an entire cast of recurring characters with interconnected stories that play out across different songs, music videos, and album art. It's a tangled soap opera laid out across an entire discography, and at the centre of it is an unnamed woman on a sort of sexual odyssey as she searches for love. Anyway, I love an excuse to talk about their music, and I've never seen anybody lay out all the lore in one place before, so that's why I'm here in this video. For this deep dive, I've collected and analysed every bit of information I could find about the E-rotic universe, or the ECU, and I studied every lyric and looked at every piece of official art that I could find. But before I get into it, I'll give a little bit of background about the band. So E-rotic was formed in 1994 by producer David Brandes and the singers Leanne Lee and Razzmatazz. Besides the characters and interwoven stories, E-rotic are known for their catchy tunes, raunchy themes in their lyrics, and the cartoon style of their album covers and music videos. E-rotic makes me think about this post I saw about Eurodance because it fits them so well. Like, yeah, that's them. All you need to make Eurodance is one female vocalist, mediocre to incredible, one male vocalist who cannot sing but can say shit like "I'm a king man with a party plan," "International nation hand in hand," in a deep voice and an apartment in Italy somewhere. In the 90s, if your band had two women, one in this case, a sequencer, and a guy who spoke like a horny wolf, you were guaranteed a run of club bangers. Two women. Love touches my life. Life is full of love. Here's to love. Love tonight. Sequencer. Dumph, 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 dumph. Horny wolf guy. Woman, I will touch you. Do you wish my touch? Horny wolf guy is actually the most perfect description for it. Like, tell me it doesn't fit. So Leanne and Razzmatazz would actually announce their departure from E-rotic as early as 1995 over disputes and growing tensions between them and producer David Brandes. He apparently said it was due to Leanne being difficult to work with, but according to her, there was more to it. As she says in this following interview, "He promised me a lot of things during my E-rotic time, but never was willing to keep his promises. One of these promises was to produce a mixed video, both cartoon and real people. We were never shown in the videos, and so we had a problem with our concerts because no one really knew us as persons. The biggest problem was actually that he wanted even money from our live shows. Also, he was interfering with everything." David Brandes claims that the band got too big for their boots, recounting an event where the singers stole the keys to their tour bus and locked themselves inside to avoid a performance on a TV show. He said that this caused him to fire them, but Razzmatazz disputes this. "I left E-rotic on my own. Nobody kicked me out. I didn't like the business of producer David Brandes. He took money from our live shows and had no respect for the live group E-rotic. I was playing football when Max was out on record. I came in the group as a live show artist first. I am a rapper." The producer wanted to do everything himself so he could keep all the money and continue to make silly songs. He was not growing, so I left. It's obviously strange that Razzmatazz genuinely was a competition-winning rapper but barely appeared on the studio recordings. The story of how he found himself in this situation was pretty funny because it basically all started with him starting up a conversation with some stranger who was at the club with a snake around his neck. It turned out this guy was Dion Blue, who was the studio rapper of a few early E-rotic songs. Dion told him how he was having some success rapping in one of his projects, Pharaoh, but that he also rapped in another project and could not handle both. Dion introduced Razzmatazz to the manager Heinz Gross, who liked Razz's look but didn't really talk about rapping or singing. Heinz explained to him that the first record was already recorded, so he would just need to do live shows, and that maybe in the future he would get to record. After E-rotic, Leanne and Razzmatazz formed a new but similar group called SEX Appeal. Then strangely, after they were replaced, their replacement singers Jeanette Christensen and Shay Warner got to appear on E-rotic album covers, music videos, and singles. Now, I haven't seen any official word on why whoever was in charge of this decision, presumably David Brandes, was suddenly okay with letting the new singers feature in the covers and videos. Maybe they had a particular vision for E-rotic's look, or maybe they learned from what happened, or maybe it was just out of spite. But I did find a clip where the new singers were interviewed on a TV show shortly after joining, and it sort of shows how the old and the new singers were received, or at least how the change was presented.
First, I have to say that you guys look a little bit more chic than the other guys before you. They were just like from some Polish nightclub in the beginning of the 80s.
And maybe that was how people saw it, or maybe it was just that presenter. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, he is so bitchy. Bro.
Actually, the changing from those other guys to you were so easy that do you actually think that you are more like instruments than artists?
No, I like to remain an artist.
Instruments than artists.
Now, although he's not coming off much nicer with this awkward dig at their legitimacy as artists, he's also not exactly wrong, considering that as far as I know, neither of these new members actually sang, making them lip-sync models more than anything. But they didn't stick around long either. Swapping the members out and replacing them with somebody who looks vaguely similar became an E-rotic tradition, which is pretty common in the Eurodance world. And although E-rotic had many different singers over the years, most didn't actually sing on the albums. When the original female singer Leanne left, she had to quietly continue recording the studio versions of E-rotic tracks for the next 3 years due to her contracts, while a completely different singer performed live and took the credit. Leanne had this to say about it. It was not funny at all, but there was nothing I could do about it. As long as my contract lasts, I would have to pay a huge amount if I was telling anybody about it. After her contract ended, E-rotic switched to the only other female vocalist that actually sung on the studio recordings, Lydia Madajowski, who provided the studio vocals for an entire 2 years before actually joining publicly as the singer of E-rotic. Now, the male role has been filled by many men, but years later, David Brandes would reveal that actually, it was all him. Almost. The only time that another male rapper was on the studio recording was Razzmatazz rapping the song Take My Love, and Dion Blue, who was never actually an official E-rotic member, doing the rap sections in Max Don't Have Sex With Your Ex, Fred Come to Bed, and Temple of Love. That's it. It's understandable if David Brandes just wanted to make his songs and pay somebody else to do the parts he didn't want to, like touring and live shows, but there needed to be a bit more communication and respect. The singers obviously felt like things were being dangled in front of them that they would never actually get. And money from live shows going to somebody who doesn't perform is probably not standard. Although I can somewhat understand why he felt he should get a cut if his mindset was more that he was just hiring people to do a specific job for him rather than putting together a legitimate music group. But that's not a great deal for people who want to actually be singers. But E-rotic stopped making music in 2003 and then reformed in 2016 with the original female singer Leanne and a new male vocalist, Stephen Appleton, a role which unsurprisingly has been replaced twice since then. Some of their newer songs are pretty good. Personally, I really like Video Starlet, and it's fantastic I'm Not Made of Plastic. And while E-rotic have done well in the charts and enjoyed popularity in all the usual ways, their music has also recurrently been featured in rhythm games such as Dance Dance Revolution, In the Groove, and Step Maniacs, which has built them at least somewhat of a cult following among rhythm gamers. It's a bit funny because E-rotic songs would seem pretty inappropriate for an arcade game that kids are going to be playing, but Konami, the company that made Dance Dance Revolution, was licensing these songs at a time where they were mainly thinking of a Japanese-speaking audience, so they might have been a bit less concerned with the lyrics of English songs. Which is how in early DDR, of course, we end up with songs like Little Bitch, Macho Gang by Anal Spider, and Little Boy, Boy on Boy Mix. But I do guess that's nothing compared to what a kid could potentially stumble across scrolling through an average In the Groove machine that's running Stepmania. Leanne's other project, Missing Heart, is also an iconic fixture of Dance Dance Revolution and In the Groove, with songs such as her cover of Moonlight Shadow, which has one of the coolest doubles mode charts from classic GDR that I've seen. So as a Dance Dance Revolution and In the Groove player, this is how I found E-rotic and then let them consume my life. No other artist has stood a chance in my Spotify Wrapped ever since. But anyway, whether you're a newcomer to E-rotic, a big fan, or maybe you only know a few of their songs from rhythm games like I originally did, hopefully you'll enjoy this deep dive and learn a few things about E-rotic that you didn't know before. So for this video, I'll mostly focus on named characters because otherwise it'll just get too messy and ambiguous and long. But to begin, I want to talk about 3 songs that make up a 3-part saga: Max Don't Have Sex With Your Ex, Fred Come to Bed, and Fritz Love My Tits. So this introduces some of the most important characters and follows them on a timeline as their lives weave together. And we have to start out with Max Don't Have Sex With Your Ex off the first album Sex Affairs.
I gotta warn you, Max, don't have sex with your ex.
Because Max wanting to get with his ex is basically the inciting event of the female narrator's sexual odyssey, which, like I said, is a thread connecting heaps of erotic songs. It's sort of the big bang that begins the erotic universe. So in this song, an unnamed female character, given voice by Leanne Lee, opens the song with her plea to her man, "Oh Max, don't have sex." This unnamed narrator is the most heavily featured character, but is never actually given a name in any of the songs, so to make it less confusing, I'll call her main character from now on. So after an instrumental bridge, we first meet Max, who introduces himself as follows. "Well, I'm Max, baby call me Max, I'm in love with you and also my ex." Then he tells us why he loves the main character and expands on his feelings. He says, "'Cause you love having fun, love having sex. I don't want to make you feel so blue, I don't know what I'm gonna do." So our introduction to Max is to a conflicted man. He's tempted by his ex, but he's also in love with the main character, and he doesn't want to cause her the hurt he knows he'll cause her if he goes through with it. In his own words, he doesn't know what he's going to do. Meanwhile, throughout the song, the main character cautions him not to have sex with his ex, warning him that it will make his life complex and that he should take it easy and relax instead. The song ends with no conclusion about what decision he reaches. Now, continuing the storyline is the second part of the saga, Fred Come to Bed, from the same album. The video features the main character with a whole new look as she attempts to seduce Fred, but we also see her still haunted by Max's infidelity. An interesting fact about the early erotic music videos and art is that most of them were done by Zoran Bihach, who I learned went on to be pretty successful, doing mainstream commercial work as well as a number of music videos for Rammstein, which include Lynx 234, Mein Teal, Mein Herz Brent, and Rosenrot. You would have never guessed they were the same guy. The song is narrated by the main character, and this is how it starts. "Fred, come to bed, 'cause my Max had sex with his sexy ex. Oh Fred, come to bed. Baby, I won't let your dreams get wet." Then we hear Max's side of the story. Let's hear what he has to say. "Well, I'm Max, baby, don't be blue. Don't you worry, don't be sorry, I'll come back to you. Just one more night with my poor old ex. She's only lonely, we don't have sex. I'm Max. Now, just a side note, if you listen to these songs, he's always like, they gotta know I'm Max. That's key. He then says, "Baby, please stay cool and just relax. I'll soon be back, but if you feel sad, just go and talk to my friend Fred." So Max is claiming that he's just helping his ex not to be lonely and that they're not sleeping together, but the main character doesn't believe him. On his view of Fred, Max says this. I'm Max, and I trust in Fred, baby, he's the best friend I've ever had. It's Fred, baby, just call Fred, and everything you ever wanted you will get. Call Fred, and you will find it's not so bad. It's just one night, baby, you'll get through. Tomorrow I'll be back with you." So I guess there are like multiple interpretations that you could take from these sections. The one most people I've talked to seem to agree with is that he's knowingly giving her the chance to sleep with somebody else as a way to sort of make up for and distract from him spending the night with his ex. But then I doubt myself. Honestly, I've gone back and forth on it. He speaks so highly of his friendship with Fred. And maybe Max, trusting Fred as his best friend, just wants Fred to keep her company while she's upset about it all. The main character and Fred might already be good friends. This art from the booklet of the Sex Affairs album shows that they at least hang out. And maybe he trusts Fred to look after her and due to their friendship just wouldn't expect to be betrayed. But in which case, he did misjudge the main character and the fact that his actions had costed him her loyalty. The people I've talked to about this song all felt that it was a bit ambiguous which one was Max's intention, despite primarily agreeing with the first interpretation. However, interpreting the first way is complicated by Max's portrayal in the song Fritz Love My Tits, where he shows himself to be a very jealous person, violently jealous even. Now, this might suggest that he's not the type to willingly let his partner sleep with somebody else, especially not a woman he's this possessive towards. But maybe he feels differently when he's in on it and it's only a one-night thing. Honestly, who knows? But I do have to say, I feel like the video clip and the booklet art more so imply that Fred isn't supposed to want to sleep with her, like in this section of the video clip where Fred is troubled by his thoughts of her. Or in this picture where Max is yelling how he trusts Fred from another building, like that contrasts what's happening. But moving on, it is interesting how the main character says, "So Fred, come to bed, or my fantasy will drive me mad." Because it makes you wonder whether this is truly a spontaneous fantasy caused by Max's infidelity, or if she'd fantasized about Fred for a while. Maybe Max had been aware of that attraction on some level. We know from the lyrics of the previous song that Max knows that she loves having fun, loves having sex, and also doesn't want to make her feel so blue. And given that, in Max's mind, perhaps allowing her to fulfill her fantasy with Fred seemed like the best path. At this point, Max is a man desperately trying to have his cake and eat it too. He wants all these different things at once without having to sacrifice one of them. Sex with his ex, the love of the main character not to be unhappy, but his hubris will be his downfall. But interestingly, this song doesn't tell us how Fred feels about any of this, or if he even went through with it, but we can piece that together from later songs. To finish up this song, the main character also says this: "My Max had sex with his ex last night because he loves her ass and tits, so I tell you Fred, come into my bed, if you don't, I will call up Fritz." And if you think somebody has written better lyrics, I don't want to hear it. This is poetry. Leonard Cohen, get out of here. This is our first reference to the character Fritz, who is the titular character of the third song of the saga, Fritz Love My Tits. It's off the 1996 album The Power of... The song opens with the main character letting us know that she's now sleeping with Fritz. She says the following: "Hey, hey, hey, Fritz, your key fits nicely. My body opens to your touch, so ring my bell and just entice me. I need your lovin' oh so much, 'cause he's wild, and baby, when he aims, he hits. Oh, Fritz, I know you love my tits." Then Max comes in with an angry tone that we haven't heard from him before. I found the side that we see of him in this song really surprising because you do not expect it with how happy the music is. He says, "Fritz, Fritz, beat it Fritz, so take your fingers off her tits, and if she says she loves you too, it's a lie oh my, it just ain't true." So Fritz loves her, which is interesting because it suggests that her and Fritz might be serious, and he is not happy about it. But buddy, you had your chance. He continues. "Fritz, Fritz, listen Fritz, don't tell me it's your key that fits. You say she's yours, but I say well, I'm gonna get you down to hell." Now, if you're not familiar with this song, you might think that last line is a figure of speech. But no, Max literally wants to kill Fritz, or is at least threatening it. I did a double take when I first listened to this song. The main character backs this up in her section, which she sings to Fritz. "Hey, hey, hey, Fritz, I know I thrill you, but if you love me, please take care, 'cause if Max gets you, he will kill you. You better watch out for him, Fritz, 'cause he's wild, and baby, when he aims, he hits." Now, obviously that last line is a bit of a double entendre, but it just wasn't what I was expecting in an erotic song. I was like, does Max have a fucking gun? But the funny thing is, like I was saying, musically it still has the same joyously upbeat, carefree tone as the rest of their songs. To give you an idea, it sounds like this. While Max is literally rapping about how he intends to kill him and is threatening his family in his rap, as he does in this verse where we learn that Fritz is married with kids. Fritz, Fritz, shut up Fritz, and just stop putting on the Ritz, and don't you think you're big and strong because of your long long ding-a-dong. Fritz, Fritz, watch out Fritz, you better leave your wife and kids. You say she wants you, but I say you better move back home and pray. And this isn't the only appearance of Max's violent side either. In the album art booklet for Sex Affairs, there's this image where he strangles the main character as she defends herself. That said, the art is surreal and cartoony and was surely intended to be interpreted in a slapstick cartoon violence way more so than as an actual depiction of domestic violence. But at the least, we can say that Max is an angry man. Now, going back to Max's comment about Fritz's long ding-a-dong, a recurring thread across a good handful of erotic songs is that the main character is a bit of a size queen, and finding the biggest man seems to be part of her quest. This has been referenced in a lot of songs, many of which I will discuss, like this one, Help Me Dr. Dick, and Gimme Your Jimmy. Also, Max has an odd tendency to reference the size of other men in his raps. But because this is another point of data that we have about a lot of the characters, I'll be tracking their size ranking on a graph. And I think with things Max says in this song, like don't tell me it's his key that fits and don't think you're big and strong because of your long long ding-a-dong, I feel confident to place Fritz ahead of Max on the graph. Also, this is neither here nor there, but Max is a robot now. Or at least in the video clip he is. They seem to be going for a futuristic outer space concept with Fritz as a spaceman and the female character as a giant alien. Interestingly, the main character is now blonde like the ex. This can make you wonder whether this is a song about Max and his ex and Fritz, but I don't think that. Mainly because the main character specifically referenced her willingness to sleep with Fritz in Fred Come to Bed, and the main character sleeping with Fritz is then referenced in later songs too. I think the music video is abstract and isn't about accurately representing the characters, but it is worth noting that in the album booklet art, the ex does express that she might also sleep with Fritz, at least as a threat. Whether she's actually done it, we don't know. But it is interesting that Fritz is a guy multiple women keep in their back pocket like this. If we count the erotic extended universe, we can learn what Fritz's occupation is. David Brandes reused and altered erotic songs in multiple German language projects. One of these projects was called Fritz die Feuerwehrmann, meaning Fritz the Fireman. I think they only released one song, and that song translates to Fritz Come and Spritz. It used the same music as Max Don't Have Sex With Your Ex, but altered the lyrics. One line in it translates to, I'm Fritz, Fritz, call me Fritz, I am a fireman. So that's pretty conclusive about what his occupation is. While I'm on the topic, another one of these David Brandes projects was Fred Feuerstein, which was a Flintstones-themed German Eurodance project for kids. These versions were obviously much less explicit, although they still contained innuendos. I guess because it was funny for adults who knew the originals. The comment sections of these songs are filled with German people who grew up with them, remembering them fondly and saying that any innuendo went completely over their heads. It reworked the song Help Me Dr. Dick into Fred Du bist so dick, meaning Fred you are so fat, and turned Fred Come to Bed into Fred Komm ins Bett. Haunting. Anyway, I've gotten a bit sidetracked, so back to the song. The album insert art for the album this song is on has an outer space theme like the video. While this man looks different to the tiny man in the video and the single cover, I suspect he could be Fritz. He has the same wavy hairstyle and he's a significant character on this album. Maybe he's a more realistic version of him in the same way that there's Max the person and there's Max the robot. But I'm not sure. They could just as easily be characters who only exist for this album art. But I did also wonder if he could be Willie, who I'll talk about later, who also features on this album. He has even more resemblance. I've also thought that the covers of the Turn Me On single and the Sexual Madness album both look like Willie, or maybe even Fritz, suggesting both songs could potentially be about one of them. The only character in an erotic song that fits the album cover woman's description is the witch in the song Falling for a Witch, who's described as having red hair. but in the album booklet for Sex Affairs, falling for a witch is portrayed as being about the blonde ex, so it's neither here nor there. You could either interpret the redhead's presence as proof that Fritz gets around, or another example of the main female character being represented fluidly in art. So this introduces our core characters in the saga, and there's still much more to learn about their history from other songs and pictures. For example, this picture from the album insert art from Sex Affairs contains the lyrics to the song Sex Me, while it depicts the song as being about Max and the main character. Her hairstyle is a bit different, but it's the same colour, and to me it looks like it could be set in the past, showing how they got together. It looks like he's a bartender and she's a patron. She says the line, yeah, life's not fair," and he responds, "Temptation's almost everywhere," while staring off. Then she says, "Sex me and set me free." He reacts with a tensely raised brow and sweat down his face. So I question why Max, such an openly sexual person, felt the need to avoid temptation. It makes me wonder if maybe he's a serial cheater and he cheated on a previous partner to be with the main character. Which also gives me some thoughts about the song Talk to Your Girl off the same album.
Talk to your girl, you can tell her she's in danger.
It has lines like, "Talk to your girl, but leave her alone. I'm your reason to exchange her. Talk to your girl, tell her to go home." You could see it being the story of the main character seducing Max while he had a girlfriend and getting him to break up with her. However, my original theory about Talk to Your Girl was actually that it was the blonde ex as the female narrator telling the story of trying to get back with Max. It fits either just as well, but a point toward it being about the love triangle with the blonde ex is the way that the male narrator, who I'm imagining is Max, speaks about the partner the female narrator wants him to leave. When saying the things that he likes about his current partner, among other things, he says, "She's wild and sexy and just love, and best of all, she's mine all night." Which sounds a lot like how Max talked about the main character when going through a similar dilemma in Max Don't Have Sex With Your Ex, declaring his love for her, followed by saying, "'Cause you love having fun, love having sex." Or maybe Max is just a simple person who doesn't have much more to say about the women he's with. It's hard to say. The song Big Max from the first album shows a more idyllic time in Max and the main character's relationship. It's a simple song about how the main character and Max enjoy sleeping with each other. It's not any deeper than that, really. I speculate that this song occurs before Max Don't Have Sex With Your Ex in the timeline, just because there's no mention of the infidelity and their desire for each other just seems completely uncomplicated here. So it makes sense for this to be a sort of prequel to the saga. It doesn't give us a lot more information about either of the characters, except that Max is big, I guess. Sex on the Phone is heavily implied to be about Max in the art, although the lyrics don't mention him directly. The song is about exactly what the title sounds like. The video doesn't add much to the plot. It's got a space theme and is a mix of the main character tastefully doing it on the phone with Max, who is abstracted in a pretty funny way, and aliens calling phone sex lines from ads. It also shows the main character briefly on the phone with Fred. That might be a literal event, or it could be her fantasizing that Max is him. There's lots of dancing too. This time they have male dancers, and Max is dancing and wearing a little outfit too. It's equality. I also want to talk a bit more about the album insert art booklet from Sex Affairs, which I've already mentioned. It's full of pictures of the main characters, Max, the ex, and Fred, along with fun, playful abstractions that are typical of the erotic art style. The song Take My Love is depicted as being about Fred and the blonde ex. The song is simple and non-specific, just expressing a desire for him to take her love. Nothing in it contradicts or proves it being about them. It's strange how the main character and the ex have potentially gotten with at least 3 of the same guys, but I guess they just know the same people, and potentially, as this picture suggested, they might all be friends. I already talked about this picture a bit earlier, but it seems to convey a breakup between the main character and Max. While he troublingly has his hand on her throat, she thinks of how he used to love her but proved to be untrue. Then she elbows him and says goodbye. Max says he doesn't even know her name. And this is interesting because in a way it implies he cheated on her with somebody other than his ex too, because why wouldn't he know her name? Unless, you know, he's just lying about it. But it does add maybe to the serial cheater interpretation of Max.
I need you right now. I need you now.
Wild Love is depicted as the ex and an alien that looks a lot like Max. The lyrics could feasibly be about them, but it's all pretty general. Maybe it's inside the ex's fantasy, since Max is abstracted into an alien while she is largely herself. There's way more information that we get about Max, Fred, Fritz, and the main character in other songs, but first I'll introduce a few more relevant characters. The third track on the album, The Power of Sex, is Help Me Dr. Dick. This song contains no direct references to the pre-existing characters or storyline, except that with the way Dr. Dick is referenced in later songs, it's clear that the female character here is the main character again. So a funny and kind of embarrassing story about this song is that when me and my partner first started seeing each other and we were in the early days of texting each other, I was telling him all about erotic lore because I'm just actually like this. But he is a DDR player too, so he's pretty familiar with them from the game. Anyway, I was talking to him about E-rotic and sent him a live recording of Help Me Dr. Dick because I'd been watching it and I was saying how it's really funny to me just watching them sing these songs totally straight-faced, because it is. And in this time, I also sent him the song Rave Me Dave by E-rotic, which I'll go into more after this one, but I sent it to him because his name is David and we were talking about our names and I was like, oh my god, you're so lucky you're in the E-rotic universe. But then anyway, a long time after when we were officially together, he was telling me how when I sent him those incredibly suggestive songs was the moment that he was like, okay, she's keen. Which, I mean, I was, but I was also so caught up in the euphoria of talking about E-rotic that I was being a bit oblivious to how incredibly forward it would come across sending a guy you've just started seeing a song like this. Or like this. But anyway, back to Dr. Dick. Is this man licensed to practice medicine? I don't know, but you already saw some of the lyrics and honestly there's not a lot more to it. The song is about her needing him and wanting him to go deeper and him being very confident that he can give her what she needs. So in this video, we learn that Dr. Dick is a plastic surgeon and a blonde woman, who is the star of the video, has come to him to undergo breast augmentation. The video mostly follows the dreams she has once she's placed under anesthesia, where she ends up in multiple perilous situations and calls out to Dr. Dick to come to her rescue, who then comes and saves her. These rescue fantasies often have a romantic component too. And in the end, she wakes up to find there's been a mix-up and her implants have been given to a burly man and big Popeye arms have been given to her. And Dr. Dick is like, oh geez golly, I'm just a little guy. Again, despite being blonde in the video, we know from references in other songs that the woman in this song is the main character. I think because she's never named, her identity can become a bit abstract, and because pretty much all the female erotic singers are blonde, I think sometimes a blonde woman is often supposed to represent erotic singer or just the erotic brand aesthetic in general, rather than literally being the ex as she was cast in the first single. This song does make me pull up the graph again though, because the way they both talk about it implies to me that he might be bigger than both Max and Fritz. She says, "Help me Dr. Dick, I need your love, I feel so sick, I need a kick and you're so big, oh doctor please deep, deep, deeper," while he confidently declares that he can cure her and that he can touch her deeper. It isn't conclusive, but I feel confident enough to add it to the graph. The next character I want to introduce is Dave. He's mainly known from the song Rave Me Dave. I already showed you the female part. Here's Dave's verse to give you a bit more information. "I'll do everything for you, you take command, I know it's true, I'm living, to make you feel, everything's fake and nothing's real. Baby, I'll give up if you tell me what to do and how it shall be. Baby, you can put me in a cage, I'm your servant, I'm your slave." So he's shown as basically being a sub in this song, but this is actually contradicted in a song I'll talk about a little bit later. We'll get into it. The next character I want to talk about is Willie, who's introduced in a song that's an ode to using protection. Willie Usability Boy.
Do you have something to say about using a condom?
I think it's very important to use a condom because make safe sex, but safe sex. Listen the song Willy the Billy Boy, this is the message for you.
I would also say have lots of fun, enjoy life, but protect yourself and take care and use a condom. Get plenty of condoms.
So we don't really learn that much about Willy in this song, except that the female narrator wants him to use protection, the woman Willy's wanting to sleep with is his ex, and the male rapper describes him as having a long ding-a-dong, which obviously puts him on the graph. These words are all we know about his size, so I'm going to tie him with Fritz, the only other character described in this exact way. It has a very fun video clip. Some highlights include the condom battling these guys, especially when it makes this face. While Willy is mentioned and sometimes shown, the condom is the main character here. But we learn a lot more about Willy in the song Billy Jive with Willy's Wife off the album Sixth Generation.
Oh, Billy jives with Billy's wife. She's the best thing.
I love this song. It's a funny contrast how it's got the same incredibly upbeat, energetic sound as all their other songs, but it's all about sleeping with somebody else's wife. Similar vibe to Fritz Love My Tits in that way, it's got that hint of darkness. It's worth noting that the woman Willy is with in Willy is a Billy Boy appears to be a different person than Willy's wife. Also, it occurs to me that the art might be trying to imply that she has crabs. We're introduced to the song with the female narrator singing, "Oh, Billy jive with Willy's wife, 'cause she's the best thing in your life. Don't do no wrong, just come along and take her dilly dilly dally dong tonight." Side note, the first time I heard this song I thought she was talking about pegging. I don't think she is. Then we hear from the man sleeping with Willy's wife. "Willy is mean, but have you seen his wife Irene? She's so sexy, young and hot, she looks so good, turn on the spot. I'm living just door to door, Willy's such a mean old bore, he keeps working 9 to 5, I'm gonna jive with Willy's wife." So compared to Willy is a Billy Boy, we actually really get to know him in this song, albeit not through a very positive lens. We now know that at least according to this character, he's mean, he's boring, he has a wife named Irene, he works full-time, and his wife cheats on him with their neighbour while he's away. There sure is a lot of cheater representation in erotic songs. This guy, Irene, Fritz, Max, the main character, and likely Willy, unless Willy Use a Billy Boy is chronologically before he was seeing his wife, which it could be. Willy's neighbour continues in the next verse. "Willy is bad, but I will get all the love he had, 'cause she wants me so, and when I knock, she won't say no. Willy's working in a butcher shop, when my Willy's doing his job, he's leaving, I arrive, I'm gonna jive with Willy's wife." So now we know that Willy is a butcher and is bad, in the opinion of his neighbour at least. All up, this might be the most we've known about a character, to be honest. I remember when I first heard this song, I misinterpreted it as saying Billy jive with Willy's wife, 'cause she's the best thing in his life, meaning the best thing in Willy's life. And I was like, oh my god, that is so sad. How are they so happy saying this? And this song is also the beginning of E-rotic's regrettable transition into computer animated video clips, which was one heck of a downgrade. It seems a bit more soulless and incoherent because they were saving money by reusing footage between videos. I think the story is essentially, these naked women arrive on an island, they dance with the native people, then a banana and a giant condom come out of the ocean and hang with them. It also has these cutaways that don't seem to connect to the plot at all, like the banana wearing the condom and getting walked down a red carpet, or... What is happening here? The stylized way of drawing the native people feels pretty questionable. It seems kinda racist in a similar way to Jinx from Pokemon or Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball Z. Older erotic videos were somewhat guilty of this too, but it tended to be in the form of a not explicitly human character shown for a few seconds before morphing into something else. Similarly, erotic's decision to depict some of their characters with bright yellow skin is quite questionable too. Then we have Ralph, who was introduced in the song Ralph Don't Make Love By Yourself,
Oh, Ralph, don't make love by yourself. It's 5 to 12.
which is a song about his partner wishing that he would be with her instead of looking after himself, and him choosing for it to be that way due to him thinking his abilities and endurance won't be good enough for her. It has some strange lyrics, such as the line, "Don't be like Alf, just let go of your pelf." Apparently pelf is Old English slang for ill-gotten money or money that you have contempt towards. This doesn't really make any sense in the context of the song. I'd say it was just somebody sitting there with an English dictionary looking for anything that rhymes. And this is Alf's only mention. This song also gives us the line, "Don't be a hanky-panky wanky man," which is pretty funny. Then we have Johnny in the song Johnny Why, which to me is a bit of an outlier among erotic songs. Musically, it's slower and sadder. They've had a handful of sad breakup songs, but personally, I don't think this is another breakup song. When I look at these lyrics, it sounds more like a song about somebody whose partner ended their own life. I mean, maybe it could be about a relationship where one person ended it abruptly out of nowhere, then completely disappeared, but I doubt it. This and his mention in Do It All Night, which I'll get to soon, is all we know about Johnny. Side note, but speaking of erotic songs that feel like outliers in their discography, I always thought Queen of Light was an interesting song because of how the lyrics, they aren't sexual in nature, and if anything are just kind of vague and mysterious. Like, can you honestly tell me what Queen of Light is about? I was interesting to learn that Queen of Light was specifically made to enter Eurovision, which might be why they wanted to go less crude than their other songs. They made it as far as the first round, but then they got stopped by the fact that when performed live, it was pretty obvious that Jeanette was not the singer of the song, as they were still using Lydia Matajewski's vocals in the studio. And the vocal performance, while nice in parts, was sort of mixed quality. There are more characters I still want to get to, but I want to talk about a few songs that feature the characters I've already said. Aside from the main saga, 3 erotic songs stand out to me as sort of the Rosetta Stones of erotic lore, treasure troves of insight. These songs are Gimme Good Sex, Do It All Night, and Mambo No. 6. Gimme Good Sex is a song where we hear about what Max thinks of himself and how he sees himself in relation to the main character's other romantic conquests. Also, in my interpretation, it's about Max and the main character having a one-night stand after everybody else she's been with, and Max wanting to convince her that he's better than all of them. In his first verse, he declares, I'm Max, I'm better than Fritz, I'm good for your body and I'm good for your tits. I do it from the front, I do it from behind, I'm the greatest lover, I'm the best that you will find. Again, great lyrics. Then he says, I'm Max, I'm bigger than Fred, I'm feeling so fantastic, I'm the best you ever had. So Max believes specifically that he's better than Fritz and that he's the best she's had, or at least he says that. He also confirms where Fred lands on our graph. So far, he's been our main source on the size of both Fred and Fritz, which begs the question, why does he know this? Take my hand. We know he's familiar with how Fred and Fritz measure up, but how he knows, we don't know. But in the album insert art for Sex Affairs, there's some interesting stuff between Max and Fred. In this image where the characters are shown with different lines of lyrics, it's Fred who is shown with the line, "Come on Max, make love to me," which could mean nothing. But is this implying this is what Fred is thinking? Why wasn't that line associated with one of the characters he's canonically slept with? And in the image for Sex on the Phone, where different lyrics are said by various characters, it's Fred who says, Max will give you telephone sex. Also, I've noticed how while there are songs and art about the main character and the ex throwing themselves at Fred, there is nothing that depicts him reciprocating these advances. He often just looks kind of flustered. I mean, maybe he's shy or maybe it's subtext. So in this image, I guess you could take it either as another example of him deflecting somebody's advances, or him and Max being oddly enmeshed with each other's intimate lives. Either way, this is not something that matters at all. I just like thinking too hard about the story world Erotic has created. But if I wanted to explain away the way that Max knows about Fred and Fritz's size ranking, I guess it just makes sense that he might have seen Fred naked at some point just incidentally, since Fred is his best friend. Also, maybe the main character just told him how big Fritz was. Anyway, back to the song. When Max says, I gotta learn uptown and get you in a jam, and sex is more to me than what you think of a man. I'm not certain what he means in either of those sentiments. I'm guessing he means that even if she doesn't view him very positively, sex can be about more than just her opinion of him. Or maybe he's saying that her interest in other men is irrelevant. I don't know, what do you think? The female character makes her desires known in this song, but her feelings are more straightforward than Max's. She just says she wants him to be her macho man and be a good one-night stand, and doesn't feel the same need to prove herself that Max does. In his next verse, Max says he's cooler than John. He then says, I'm Max, I'm hotter than Dick. I'm a master, you're a beggar. I'm a teacher, you're a slave. I'm the biggest lover from the land of Uncle Sam. So Max is American and says he's hotter than Dr. Dick. He also gives some insight into how he sees the dynamic between him and the main character, whether or not that's true on her side.
Oh, do it all night, do it with me. I'll take you to heaven.
The next song, which gives us a lot of information, is Do It All Night. We don't know who the male narrator is because he's unnamed, but we know that he isn't any of the characters named in the song. He says, You may have had good sex with Sam and Fred and Fritz and Max. You may be the slave of Tim and Tom and Ed and Dave. You may do it again with Hams and Franz and Jack and Ken, but you're gonna feel so free when you're doing it with me. Most of the characters mentioned in this song only exist in this song. Sam, however, has his own song called Sam. There's not a lot to talk about with that song, it's just the main character singing about how she wants Sam and doesn't give a damn. Pretty good song though. Anyway, the narrator in Do It All Night is under the impression that she had a good time getting with Sam, Fred, Fritz, and Max, which I guess I can note down, but he used the words may have, meaning that this could be his speculation. Honestly, we don't even have confirmation that Fred slept with the main character yet, though the narrator and Max seem to think so. It's also interesting that it mentions her being the slave of Dave, as his titular song, Rave Me Dave, is specifically about him being in the opposite role. So we learn that Dave is a versatile type of man. Then, in the next verse, he says, You may find you need Alfredo, Jerry, Ralph, or Pete. It may be okay with Bernie, Willie, Tim, and Ray. You'll love to get a kiss from Andy, Georgie, Red, and Chris. But you're gonna feel so free when you're doing it with me. Again, most of these characters are never mentioned elsewhere except Willie and Ralph. The main character says about the male narrator that she'll take him to heaven if he makes her feel free, showing that at this point in time, feeling free is her main motivation with the men she's encountering compared to other times when she's more focused on love. Our other rich text for this analysis is the song Mambo No. 6 off the album of the same name. This song was mostly made to cash in on the popularity of Mambo No. 5, probably. This song is where the female character looks back on her experiences with many of the men that we've heard about and dishes everything. On Max, she says, Oh, I had sex with Max, but it was too complex, and he just knocked me off my legs because he had sex with his ex. On Fred, I went to bed with Fred, it was so sad, cause all I had from Mr. Fred, he got my dreams all wet. Okay, so this blows the whole thing wide open because it contradicts the male character in Do It All Night saying that she had good sex with Fred. It also casts serious doubt that anything even happened. She says they went to bed, but she seems to be implying nothing happened unless it was just very unsatisfying. Something that would support them not going all the way is the fact that in Fred Come to Bed, she says, I tell you Fred, come into my bed, if you don't, I will call up Fritz. And we know from other songs she definitely did end up getting with Fritz. Then she does a callback to the song Sex on the Phone. So I had sex on the phone and it went on and on and on, but it shakes me to the bone, and now that I'm alone, don't need no Willie, no Fred, no Max, just Mambo No. 6. So we know at this point she's single and she no longer feels she needs these men, just sex. About Dr. Dick, she says, I had some fun with Dr. Dick, he showed me a new trick, but babe, he made me sick, he always came too quick. About Fritz, she says, checked it out with Fritz, man he was a blitz, I know how that fits, his wife had 7 kids. 7 kids and he's cheating, justice for Fritz's wife. This next bit confuses me, to be honest. So she goes, I went with Howard the coward, but we got in a jam, 'cause he didn't give a damn, he was scared of Uncle Sam. Does she mean scared of America, or could she be referencing the character Sam? Either way, this is the only time that Howard is mentioned. There are a few more characters in the universe who are only mentioned in one song, and therefore are not connected to the other characters except when the female narrator is the main character, but that's often ambiguous. One of these is VJ. The song VJ the DJ introduces him, and we can learn quite a bit about him. We are told, VJ's a little man, but I'm his biggest fan. VJ the DJ, he's so slim, but every girlie wants to sleep with him. Oh, he moves like a cat, but he is a tiger in bed. He's described as being of minor size, yet creeping into your soul, gaining control. He's generally described as being very desired by women. She says that he's a little man and of minor size, likely might only be in reference to his height and weight, but erotic songs are full of innuendo, so I feel like I can add him to the size chart with a question mark. We meet Nick in the song Oh Nick Please Not So Quick. This is the song that made me fall in love with Erotic from playing it on Dance Dance Revolution. It's pretty much what it sounds like. The female narrator is unhappy with how quick Nick tends to be. Dr. Love is a character referenced in the song Dr. Love, which features a couple calling him for advice on the male partner's insatiableness. We never actually hear from Dr. Love, just the couple. It seems like he must be the host of a romance-themed advice show like Loveline. In the song LOVE, Sex on the Beach, the narrator tells us he's Ronnie the Sunshine Man, but the rest of the song doesn't tell us much worth noting. Molly is interestingly one of only 2 female characters with names in the erotic universe. There's just her and Irene. I think the song Molly Dolly Loves Her Lolly is narrated by Molly's man and a woman who wants to take Molly's man from her. This woman tells him that she would do more for him than Molly would. Bolero describes a love affair with a man in Spain. A bittersweet mix of emotions are described in the lyrics, and it seems the female narrator was feeling quite lost at the time she fell for him. The song King Kong opens with the female character singing, "My lover, lover, King Kong, turn me on. I want your ring-a-ding-dong all night long. I need you here, I need you there. I need your ring-a-ding-dong everywhere." In the rest of the song, we don't learn a whole lot more about the characters, except that King Kong describes the female character as his geisha queen and says that he intends to make her his wife. Due to the size-based innuendo of the name King Kong, the fact that he is the only character to get a size-based nickname, along with the line "Oh baby, it's like Bing Bong deep inside," I think I'll award him this position on the graph. But the short appearance of his human form in the music video might be a total curveball, because he looks like Fred but jacked. And Fred has already been established as smaller than Max, and honestly I don't know what to make of it. Although he has 1 spike in his hair rather than 2, suggesting there's still a decent chance that King Kong is still a whole new guy. But another contender enters the room. In the song Gimme Your Jimmy, she says, "So gimme your Jimmy, driving me mad, oh man, you are the maximum I can get, and I want to do it 10 times a night, oh baby release me, please please me." This song was released after King Kong on the final album before their more than decade-long hiatus. I would argue that this song is the conclusion of the main character's quest for the largest man, as she says herself that he is the maximum she can get. Since the reunion, Erotic has not mentioned any named character in new songs, making the album Cocktail Erotic an ending of sorts. The male character describes himself as her biggest fan and seems to call back to the song Test My Best when he says he wants to test if she's better than all the rest. It makes me wonder, is this song here about the one, the man she ends up with at the conclusion of this whole saga? And if so, was he who she was singing about all the way back in Test My Best? Am I reaching massively for some sense of closure to this narrative? Maybe. Maybe despite being a bit of a romantic, she's not the type to want to tie herself down long term, and her story just continues exactly the way it's been the whole time, an ongoing quest for feeling and connection and satisfaction. I guess you can make up your own mind about it, but this does wrap up all I could find about these characters. It's obvious that with a group like Erotic, desire is the main theme of pretty much all their music. The quest for love and sex is the central important thing in this chapter of the main character's life, and we get to follow the highs and lows that come with that. I think some of the magic in Erotic is their bold and shameless way of portraying sexuality, especially female sexuality that is mixed with joyfulness and fun, and playing in this space where sex is both centrally important and also funny and silly and not that serious. Also, the music itself is great and always fun and upbeat to listen to, and it's a fun process the way that you learn more and more bits of the overarching story as you explore through their songs. I hope that someday they release a Where Are They Now song of the characters. But yeah, that is all that I have to say, so I hope you enjoyed learning about Erotic, and I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Bye for now.